Hi everyone, welcome back. In this week's video topic, I'll be talking about driver and 4 of the most common mistakes people are making. I'll be discussing specific drills and feels that you can apply so you can start having more confidence off the tee. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you are new to my channel, please subscribe so you can see more golf-related content in the future. So for those of you who may be wondering why the driver is so difficult compared to an iron, you have to understand that even though the swings mechanically are very similar, there are a few differences that you have to consider. Now, the driver is different because the ball is no longer on the ground typically when you're hitting it. So if the ball is no longer on the ground, the way that we make contact with the ball changes. So we no longer want the impact condition where we're hitting down, but we want to swing the club head more level to the ground or ever so slightly up on the golf ball. So in order for that to happen, there has to be some changes to your setup, which brings me to the first thing that I want to talk about is just how your upper body is positioned at address. So the most common thing that I'm seeing with a lot of players when they set up the driver is that for the most part, they understand that they have to get their stance wider, stand further away, but they stand over the ball as if they're about to hit an iron shot. So that would mean that their shoulders are very, very level to the ground, okay, and their heads are like really not very behind the golf ball. With the driver, when your shoulders are not very like tilted to the right or kind of behind the golf ball, and very level to it, and your head's kind of more on top of the golf ball, that's going to encourage you to hit more downwards on the golf ball or swing more over and across to the left. We want to make sure that with driver that we add a little bit more tilt or tilt to the trail side, okay, just to encourage the angle of attack to be a bit more shallow, or the delivery of the club to come in more level to the ground, or maybe even slightly upwards on the golf ball. So a very simple exercise that you guys can do to help get yourself in the correct position is if you can get in your stance and put your hands on your thighs, okay, pretty much level. Now, what you want to do is you want to lower your right hand until it reaches your knee, okay, and by doing that, that's going to drop your right shoulder and get your body to kind of tilt to the trail side. The mistake that you want to be careful of is while you're tilting to the right, you don't want to shift the majority of your weight into your right foot. You actually want to be conscious of keeping your weight fairly even. Maybe a slight majority will remain still on the left side, maybe 55%, 60%. Okay, so with that in mind, 55, 60% of your weight on the left side. If you do this exercise and just drop that right hand closer to the right knee or your trail knee, okay, once you're there, you can put your hands together, and that's going to actually get your body tilted in the correct position at address. So the second mistake a lot of people make has to do with the backswing and how much rotation they're adding into the upper body. So what I'm seeing a lot is even though players get their upper bodies in this more tilted position at address, is that they don't know how to turn their bodies around this slightly more tilted upper body. So what ends up happening is that when they make their backswing, they add too much extension. Okay, they get the chest pointing up, and they forget to add enough rotation to where this lead shoulder just kind of stays in place and doesn't get behind the golf ball enough. Okay, so instead of learning to kind of turn enough around this extra tilt or a side bend at address, kind of like this, where the lead shoulder is a bit more behind the golf ball, they actually end up looking like this, where the lead shoulder just kind of stays right on the golf ball, okay, and they actually get their postures a bit more kind of upright or leaning more into the target. So a great little exercise I get these kind of players to do to get the right sensation or feel is, again, just to get in your setup position, just let your arms hang straight down. And what I want them to focus on is just getting their entire torso to rotate instead of just focusing on their shoulders. So if you focus on the entire torso, kind of turning and pointing to the right, getting your chest just pointing to the right like this, and just putting your arms together and just looking back at the golf ball, that's going to force your entire chest and your lead shoulder to get more behind the golf ball. And apply that with the club in your hand, right? Just also ensuring that that lead shoulder gets to the right of the golf ball. You'll tend to look more like this. Now, it'll be much easier for you to produce speed, power, and also to get the club delivered on the right direction. Okay, so now mistake number 3 has to do with your impact position. So the mistake I see with driver again at impact is that players again will treat it just like an iron. So then when they come in, their upper bodies is too level to the ground. Okay, they're getting their upper body more in front of their lower body, which is again going to cause the club to come in more steep. It's going to encourage the path to get more out to in. So again, just like at address, with when you add more tilt at address, at impact, your upper body also has to be even more tilted. This is another big difference between the driver and an iron. So at impact, if you want to have that sensation of your upper body tilting more into the trail side as you hit it, you have to be aware that your goal is to get your left arm and the club in a straight line right as you're hitting it. Okay? So irons, the goal is to get that left arm in a straight line after impact. So what you're going to have to feel is that when you're getting in closer into impact, that your lead shoulder goes up and back behind you further. All right. So now the common mistake that a lot of people make is when they try to add more kind of side bends or tilts into the downswing, they forget about their weight. Okay. So it's important that you move your weight into the lead side as your left shoulder kind of moves up and back. So the feel that a lot of people have when I try to get them to apply this is that their pressure moves left and then their upper body actually moves backwards to the right. So you're going to go this way, left, and then upper body back to the right. So that lead shoulder moves up and back as your hip and weight move left. Okay? So if you can do that, then that's going to encourage that the club to enter more shallow to the ground or more level to the ground, and maybe even just slightly upwards on the golf ball. This will also make it easier for the club to be delivered on an in-to-out path. So just to get a sensation or feel for this, you can just hit little pitches, but what you're focusing on is when you go halfway back, your weight goes left and your left shoulder goes up and back to the right. Okay? You can try and combine those feels together. Like this. Okay, left shoulder goes up and back as your weight goes to the left or the lead side. So the fourth and final mistake that I want to talk about in this video has to do with the finish position. Now, time and time again, I see this all the time, but players that hit driver, they always just hit the ball and just kind of fall back into their trail foot. When you get into your finish, what you want to make sure that happens is that you're standing pretty much on top of your lead leg, and very quickly after you get into your finish, you're able to raise your trail foot off the ground. So if you're able to do that, then that means that the majority or the vast majority of your weight has shifted into your lead side. But if you still find out that you're getting into your finish and you have to almost push yourself off the ground just to kind of raise that right foot off the ground, then you still have a bit too much of your weight on the trail side. That's a really good exercise that you can practice, is getting to your finish and then just getting that right foot to come off. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. So if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, please don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. Be sure to follow me on my Instagram at Jonathan K. Moss, where you can inquire about my online lessons. I will also leave a link to my website in the description box below as well, so you can look at all the details. And if you're not in a rush and you have some extra time, you can go and check out this next video right here. This will just talk about the difference between a driver and an iron, and give you a bit more clarity as to what you can do differently or maybe similarly between the two. So be sure to check that out and also let me know what you think.